Hello there. You've arrived at calm English bedtime. I'm so glad you're here. Tonight, let's slow everything down. Let your body rest, your breath soften, and your mind begin to drift. As the rain falls or the stars glow above us, I'll share with you a gentle story, one that will carry you softly into sleep. There is a place nestled deep within winding valleys and shrouded in a perpetual, gentle fog called Norwyn. You will not find it on any map, nor will you hear its name spoken in the bustling cities of the world. Norwyn is a secret, kept safe by the ancient moss-covered trees that lean in to whisper to one another when the wind blows. In Norwyn, time does not march forward with the harsh ticking of a clock. It ambles. It meanders like a slow-moving river. The cobblestones that pave the winding streets do not clatter when you walk upon them. They hum a soft, low melody, a song as old as the stones themselves. The houses, with their slanted roofs and window like sleepy eyes, seem to breathe with the rhythm of the land. Everything in Norwyn is soft. The light is soft, filtered through the ever-present mist. The sounds are soft. The rustle of leaves, the distant hum of the stones, the quiet murmur of the townsfolk. But the strangest, most wonderful thing about Norwyn is the rain. In Norwyn, the rain does not fall down. It rises. When the sky grows heavy and gray, the people of Norwyn look up with a quiet sense of anticipation. And then it begins. From the damp earth, from the glistening leaves of the ivy, from the shimmering puddles on the cobblestones, tiny droplets of water begin to form. They tremble for a moment, gathering their courage, and then they lift. Slowly, gracefully, they float upward, like thousands of tiny, weightless silver bells ascending into the clouds. This phenomenon is not seen as strange or alarming. To the people of Norwyn, it is as natural as breathing. They call it the rising, for they believe that these are not ordinary raindrops. Each drop that rises carries something with it. A feeling that has been held too tightly in the heart, a dream that was never fulfilled, a word that was left unspoken. The rising is a great, gentle release. It is the town's way of letting go, a silent, collective sigh carried upward to the heavens. The people of Norwyn live their lives in quiet harmony with this magic. They know that when a heavy feeling settles in their heart, they need only wait for the rain. They will stand by their windows or walk softly through the misty streets and watch as their unspoken sorrows, their quiet joys, and their lingering regrets are lifted from the world and return to the sky, leaving behind a profound and gentle peace. This is Norwyn, a town where the sky listens and the rain sets you free. In a small, ivy-covered cottage near the edge of the Whispering Woods lived a young woman named Elia. Elia was as quiet and thoughtful as the town she lived in. She had gentle eyes the color of moss after a rain, and she moved with a grace that left no sound upon the humming cobblestones. Elia was a collector, not of coins or stamps or fine art, but of light and silence. Her passion was for empty glass jars. She had dozens of them in all shapes and sizes, lining the sills of her windows. She loved the way the misty Norwyn light would filter through the glass, painting soft, moving patterns on her wooden floors. Each jar, to her, was a vessel for potential, a keeper of quiet moments. She also kept a small, leather-bound journal where she would write down fragments of poems and thoughts that drifted to her on the misty air. One afternoon, as a particularly soft and slow rising began, Elia was walking by the river that flowed through the town. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and petrichor. She watched, as she always did, as countless droplets trembled on blades of grass and smooth river stones before beginning their slow, silent ascent. But then she saw something she had never seen before. Nestled in the hollow of a mossy stone, one single perfect raindrop lay still. It shimmered with an inner light, but it did not rise. All around it, its brethren were floating upward, a silent, glittering procession to the clouds. But this one drop remained, as if tethered to the earth by an invisible thread. Elia knelt down, her curiosity piqued. She leaned closer, her breath a soft cloud in the cool air. The droplet seemed to pulse with a faint, quiet energy. It was beautiful and sad all at once. Moved by a feeling she couldn't name, she carefully uncorked one of her smallest, most delicate glass jars and gently scooped the raindrop inside, along with a piece of the soft green moss it rested on. She sealed the jars and held it in her hands. It felt warm. That night, Elia placed the jar on her bedside table. As the town slept under a blanket of stars, she could have sworn she heard a sound coming from it. It was not a voice, but a feeling that shaped itself into words in her mind, a whisper no louder than the brush of a moth's wing against glass. Don't forget me. Elia's heart ached with a gentle sorrow for this tiny, captured piece of the sky. That night she dreamed. She dreamed of a great river that flowed not to the sea, but backward, up the side of a mountain, its waters filled with shimmering faces and whispered voices. And from the sky above the river, she heard a soft, calling sound, beckoning her to listen more closely. When she awoke, The first light of dawn was filtering through her jars, and the single raindrop in its small glass home was still there, waiting. She knew she had to understand what it was trying to tell her. There was only one person in Norwyn who might understand the secret of the grounded raindrop. His name was Orrin. Orrin was an old man who lived on the highest hill overlooking the town, in a house that looked like it had grown out of the earth itself. He was known as the Keeper of Memories, a gentle recluse who spent his days collecting the strange and forgotten things that Norwyn produced. A stone that hummed a forgotten tune, a fallen leaf that held the perfect color of autumn, a feather from a bird that no one had ever seen. Elia took her small jar and made the slow, winding journey up the path to Orrin's home. The air grew thinner and clearer here, above the thickest of the mist. Orrin greeted her not with surprise, but with a knowing, gentle smile, as if he had been expecting her. His eyes were kind, crinkled at the corners like old maps. He led her inside, into a room filled not with clutter, but with wonder. Shelves lined the walls, holding countless small treasures, each one respectfully displayed, each one telling a silent story. Elia placed her jar on a large wooden table, worn smooth by time. "I found this," she said softly. "It wouldn't rise, and I think it spoke to me." Orrin peered at the single droplet, his gaze full of a deep, patient wisdom. He did not seem surprised. "Ah," he said, his voice a low, comforting rumble. "Sometimes a memory is too heavy to fly." He sat down opposite Elia and gestured for her to do the same. "The rising carries away the feelings we are ready to release, little one. The gentle regrets, the fleeting daydreams. But some things are not meant to be released. They are meant to be heard." He explained that the raindrops that refuse to rise are different. They hold a message that was never spoken aloud, a feeling so deep and powerful, it anchors itself to the world. It might be a heartfelt apology that was never given, a declaration of love that remained locked in a shy heart, a final goodbye that was left unsaid, or a dream so cherished that its owner could not bear to let it go. "These drops don't want to be free," Orrin continued, his voice barely a whisper. "They want to be remembered, to be acknowledged. They are waiting for a listener." He showed Elia how to listen, not with her ears, but with her heart. "Hold the jar," he instructed. "Close your eyes. Don't try to hear words, just feel. What color is the feeling? Is it warm or cool? Is it heavy or light? The story is in the silence between the sounds." Elia did as he said. She held the small, warm jar in her hands, closed her eyes, and breathed. At first, there was nothing, but then, slowly, a feeling bloomed in her chest. It was a soft, warm feeling, like a cherished photograph. It was the memory of a young boy promising his childhood friend that they would always stay in touch, a promise broken by time and distance, but never by intention. The whisper, "Don't forget me," was not a plea, but a gentle reminder of a bond that still existed somewhere in the ether. A single quiet tear rolled down Elia's cheek, not of sadness, but of understanding. From that day on, Elia began a new kind of collection. Guided by Oren, she learned to walk through the town during the rising with a new purpose. She sought out the lonely, grounded raindrops, the ones clinging to window panes, nestled in flower petals, or hiding in the crevices of the humming stones. She would gather them in her beautiful glass jars. Each one held a unique, tiny, and yet immense piece of a human soul, a drop that felt like the quiet pride of a father watching his child sleep, another that held the bittersweet ache of a song remembered from long ago, a third that pulsed with the vibrant, hopeful energy of a dream to travel the world. Her cottage was no longer just filled with light. It was filled with the silent, sleeping stories of Norwyn, and in the quiet evenings she would sit with them, one by one, and simply listen. Once a year, on the longest and darkest night, the people of Norwyn would gather for a special ceremony. It was called the Grand Rising. This was the night when the rain was said to be the most powerful, the most capable of carrying the heaviest of burdens up to the waiting ski. On this night, the town square would be lit by hundreds of soft, glowing lanterns, their light mingling with the mist to create a dreamlike aura. The people of Norwyn would come from their homes, moving in a quiet, reverent procession. They didn't speak much. There was no need. The purpose of the night was understood by all. This was the night for the deepest release, for letting go of the things they had carried for the entire year. This year, Elia's journey to the square was different. She carried with her a large, sturdy wooden tray, upon which sat dozens of her glass jars. Each jar held a single, shimmering raindrop, the lost memories, the unspoken words, the cherished dreams she had so carefully collected. They glowed faintly in the lantern light, a constellation of captured feelings. She found a quiet spot near the old stone fountain in the center of the square. The air grew still. A hush fell over the crowd. And then, as if on cue, the grand rising began. From every surface, the rain began to lift. It was a magnificent sight, more powerful than any daytime rising. Thousands upon thousands of droplets ascended in a slow, majestic, silent ballet, a river of light flowing upward into the dark expanse of the night sky. The people stood with their faces tilted upward, their hearts open, offering their private sorrows and silent hopes to the celestial stream. Elia watched for a long moment, feeling the collective sigh of her town. Then she looked down at her collection. She knew what she had to do. These memories had been heard. They had been acknowledged. They were no longer lost. One by one, she began to unseal the jars. As she opened the first, the one containing the promise between old friends, the droplet inside pulsed with a soft golden light. It floated out of the jar and hovered before her for a second, as if in thanks before joining the great ascent. She opened another, the one holding a mother's unspoken pride. It rose with a warm, steady glow. Another, the one carrying a lost dream of seeing the ocean, ascended with a shimmering turquoise light, spiraling upward as if it were a playful wave. She continued opening each jar. A rainbow of tiny, emotional lanterns was released from her care. Each one was a story, a secret, a piece of a heart, now finally on its way. They did not seem heavy or sad anymore. They seemed light, joyful, and complete. As she unsealed the last jar, Elia looked up at the river of light flowing into the heavens, and she whispered to them all. Her voice carried on the misty air. Be free. And as she watched them disappear into the clouds, a profound sense of peace settled over her, deeper than any she had ever known. The sky had not forgotten them. It had simply been waiting for someone to help them on their way. In the weeks and months that followed the grand rising, a quiet change settled over Norwyn. It was subtle at first, something you could feel more than see. The mist seemed a little lighter, the hum of the cobblestones a little more cheerful. The people of the town began to talk to each other more. A baker would not just sell a loaf of bread, but would share a story from his morning. A mother would stop another in the street, not just to say hello, but to tell her how proud she was of her child. Old friends sought each other out to speak of promises made long ago. Dreams were not just kept in the heart, but were spoken aloud, shared over cups of warm tea. The people of Norwyn were learning to release their feelings not just to the sky, but to each other. They were learning that a word spoken to a friend could be as freeing as 1,000 rising raindrops. And a strange and wonderful thing began to happen. The risings became less frequent. When the rain did come, it was a gentle, normal rain, the kind that falls down from the sky, watering the earth, making the moss a vibrant green, and filling the air with a clean, fresh scent. It was no less magical. It was a different kind of magic. The magic of healing, of things returning to a natural, peaceful state. The sky had not lost its power. The people had simply learned to let go in their own time, in their own way. Elia no longer needed to collect the lonely, grounded raindrops. Her collection of jars now sat on her windowsills, holding only the soft, misty light of the Norwyn mornings. her work was done, but still she kept one small empty jar on her windowsill, right by her bed. She left it unsealed, an open invitation, just in case, for anyone or anything that might still need a listener. Most nights it remained empty, and that was a beautiful thing. But sometimes, on the quietest of nights, when the moon was a perfect sliver in the sky, a single gentle drop of rain would find its way to her open window. It would not fall from the sky nor rise from the earth. It would simply appear, shimmering on the glass rim of the jar. One such night, as Elia lay drifting into sleep, she heard a whisper from the jar. It was the softest sound she had ever heard, a sound like pure gratitude. "Thank you." She smiled a peaceful, sleepy smile, and if you were to look very closely at the sky above the sleeping town of Norwyn, you might see, scattered among the glittering stars, a few last lingering droplets of rain. They were not falling down or rising up. They were simply floating there, dancing a slow, silent waltz in the endless, peaceful night. A final, gentle lullaby. A reminder that every feeling finds its place, and every heart can find its peace. And now, the story of Norwyn is over. The mist has faded, and the gentle town is left to its peaceful slumber. Let the feeling of that peace settle over you. Feel the quietness of the town in your own heart. There is no need to hold on to anything tightly. Like the rising rain, let the thoughts and worries of your day begin to float away, growing lighter and lighter. Let your breathing be soft and slow. Feel the gentle weight of your blankets, like a soft blanket of mist tucking you in. The world outside can wait. Right now, there is only this moment, this quiet, this peace. There are stories in the silence, and there is freedom in letting go. Sleep well, and may your dreams be as gentle and as healing as the rain in Norwyn. Good night.